Hello and welcome to another edition of Currently in Quincy. I'm Joe Catalano. On today's program, we will get an update from Chris Casani from Quincy's Traffic, Parking, Alarm and Lighting Department. First, though, we check out weather and news for you. Currently in Quincy, partly sunny. It's 36 degrees right now. Today will be about the warmest day of the next few, with highs in the lower 40s this afternoon. A mix of sun and clouds. Starts to chill down tonight. Partly cloudy, lows in the lower 20s, and a bright but a brisk weekend. Going to start to feel like January around here. Tomorrow, sunny, windy, not even 30 degrees. Teens tomorrow night, and just about as chilly on Sunday. It'll be bright and brisk, barely near the freezing mark. A little bit warmer on Monday with sun and clouds. Highs Monday into the upper 30s. Again, partly cloudy and 36 in Quincy right now. In the news today, a 57-year-old man was being treated for serious injuries after being struck by a car in Quincy early this morning. This happened on Beale Street in Wollaston Center at about 6:45 a.m. Police say the victim was struck by a vehicle right near the CVS, rushed to Boston Medical Center with a serious head injury, last reported to be in critical condition. The operator did remain at the scene, was also taken to a hospital with unspecified injuries. An accident reconstruction team was on scene for most of the morning. That crash remains under investigation. Other news, a proposal for a new Department of Social Justice and Equity is now in the hands of Quincy Mayor Thomas Cope. The City Council this week did approve of that new department on an 8-1 vote after some emotional testimony from dozens of people who described their experiences of racism and discrimination in Quincy. This woman was afraid to give out her address in public for fear of retribution.
My parents immigrated here in '82 from Lebanon during a time of civil war. And they raised me and my siblings all of our life here. Along every milestone of my life, I can speak to a moment where I experienced discrimination based on my ethnicity as an Arab and as a woman who also covered my hair and practiced my faith as a Muslim. Some of my most traumatic experiences have happened here in Quincy. I'd like to take a moment and thank all the students of Quincy High and North Quincy High that have come forward on other occasions to share their experiences, which really drew me to want to share my experience here. When I was in high school, a boy approached me after school and told me, I have a knife and I'm going to protect my country. And I was a very shy student. I didn't know who this kid was. So it was a shock for me and continues to be a point of trauma for me. My younger brother in school, he came home one time and said, oh, my friend didn't want to come over because his parents said we were Muslim.
Ward 4 Councilor Brian Palmucci proposed that new department after a series of listening sessions last summer. The mayor would have to include the new department in next fiscal year's budget. Several dozen people attended a Black Lives Matter rally in Quincy Center to mark the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday back on Monday. Participants stood outside the United First Parish Church, the Church of Presidents, carrying signs and waving flags calling for racial justice and equity and denouncing white supremacy, prejudice, and bigotry. That event was organized by the group Quincy for Transformative Change. The group also holds weekly Black Lives Matter rallies outside of that church on Thursday afternoons. Wollaston Center needs redevelopment. The administration and city councilors agree that Wollaston Center should be designated as an urban revitalization district. But Ward 5 Councilor Chuck Phelan says he wants to make sure that people have a say in the future of that area.
We've seen a lot in the city, but one of the things that really is needed is the infrastructure, the drainage. Where 80 Clay Street used to be a marsh that I used to play in and catch frogs and bring them home to my mother, who would then throw me out of the house. So I know the area. That was a swamp, and now it's all pavement. So I'm not surprised that it's flooding and need for better drainage system is pretty dramatic down there. But we're going to be looking for it. I'm going to also be looking for members to join the Citizens Advisory Committee and work on these. And, you know, I know sometimes we say we don't like parking, we don't like the pervious parking, but I got to say a couple of buildings that have gone in that didn't have parking have become nightmares for me because everyone has cars who went into the building and said they weren't going to have cars, and everyone has a car. And they go out on the street where they've created a lot of parking problems around the area. So I know there's a lot of discussion to go, and I'm going to reserve that. I did get some calls from people who were a little concerned. You know, I don't think we're changing a lot. We're going to have parking regulations. We're going to also talk about height regulations and keep them basically the way they are and not going up too high. And I think there's going to be a lot of give and take, and that's why I look forward to working through the process, putting this in committee, and also and then the planning board have a go at it, and also look and see what the citizens. That's why I'm anxious to get a citizens advisory board started and start getting input from the people who live and work in the area.
Creating an urban revitalization area would allow the city to acquire properties for redevelopment similar to what's happening in Quincy Center. Retired Quincy Health Commissioner Ruth Jones is confident that she's leaving the city in good hands with her former staff. Jones retired last Friday and was praised by city councilors at this week's meeting for her leadership through the pandemic. Jones said that it was a team effort.
And I'd really like to recognize the entire staff of the Quincy Health Department. And I'm talking about our food inspectors, our housing inspectors, our sanitarians, our administrative staff who worked side by side with our two public health nurses. They've worked tirelessly to not only investigate cases, but to trace contacts, and they've done it with compassion and patience that really is unparalleled. These were very trying times. They continue to be very trying times, and I'm so proud of the Quincy Health Department staff working 7 days a week, sometimes 10-hour days, and they continue to work these type of hours to hopefully get us to some point where we can have some sort of normal type of life down the road. I'd also like to recognize a few other people. Rita Bailey and the Quincy Public School nurses. They assisted us in the beginning of COVID. If you remember, everything was closed, schools were closed. Quincy Public Health was in the midst of the beginning of the pandemic and starting to do contact tracing, and it evolved very quickly for us. The Quincy Public School nurses volunteered on their own tremendously to come in to help us. They learned how to do contact tracing, and Rita Bailey and her nurses did a fabulous job for us.
She stepped down after a year and a half as commissioner, but with 19 years with the health department, Mayor Thomas Koch must now appoint a new commissioner. Quincy High School students will benefit from a partnership with Callahan Construction. The company recently donated $10,000 to help train students who are seeking careers in the trades. Callahan made that donation to the Trades Beyond the Bell program, which is designed to provide students in the vocational training programs with the skills they need to find careers in construction, design, transportation, housing, utilities, and telecommunications. Callahan's funding will provide teacher mini grants and also go toward purchasing tools and technology needed in the Quincy Public Schools Career and Vocational Technical Education program. Callahan has been a part of the Quincy Schools Community Partnership for the past 5 years. Coming up, the director of Quincy's Traffic, Parking, Alarm, and Lighting, Chris Cassani, next.
Hey, Massachusetts, what do you want to get back to?
Giving hugs, seeing my friends.
Taking my wife dancing.
I want to get back to taking my kids on play dates.
I want to get back to Fenway.
I want to get back to partying.
We've worked hard, but we're not there yet. So we still need to wear a mask that covers your nose and mouth. Keep our distance, at least 6 feet apart. And get tested. It's free and available. We can get back masks. Learn how at mass.gov/getback.
Podcasting 101. Create your own podcast using the QATV audio suite. Learn the basics of the audio board, how to take phone calls, and add music from a CD, SD card, or your phone. Participants will also learn interview skills to help get the most out of your guest. To register for a session, email Carol Themin at cthemin@qatv.org or call 617-376-1440.
Lighting is very important. It's what could make or break your video. Learn the basic techniques for lighting in different scenarios, using light kits, social lights, or your lights at home. Our first class takes place on January 27th at 6:30. To register for a session, email Carol Themin at cthemin@qatv.org or call 617-376-1440. We hope to see you there.
I hear someone go, "Didn't it come from you guys?"
Strangers cough at me.
Move away from me.
Someone spit towards my direction. All the stereotypes that we've worked so hard to break are just going to be reversed. And I won't let that happen.
We all have to play our part.
I donate my plasma.
I've been making masks.
We deserve respect as much as everybody else.
I'm a firefighter, not a virus.
I'm a mask maker, not a virus.
I'm a nurse.
I'm a delivery woman, chef, a neighbor, artist,
Bus driver.
I'm a doctor.
Fight the virus. Fight the virus.
Checking in with the Director of Traffic, Parking, Alarm, and Lighting, T-PAL, here in the city of Quincy, Chris Cassani, to chat a little bit about pedestrian safety. Hey, Chris, Happy New Year.
Same to you, Joe. Great to be with you.
Yeah, appreciate it. It's a great opportunity to let folks know about an innovative and unique opportunity that they have to be more visible when they're out walking at night, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, we, the last year obviously has presented everybody with a whole host of challenges and opportunities, and we've learned a lot about different ways that people navigate our roads, navigate our sidewalks, and, obviously being outside has been a real respite for virtually everybody throughout all the pandemic. One of the terrible things that's happened amongst all the other sad things that have happened this year is that there's been a real marked increase nationally in fatalities and serious accidents on the roads. It's not unique to Massachusetts, but Massachusetts is no stranger. Quincy's no stranger to this. Oddly enough, as much as we complain about traffic, when you have relatively congested roads, people are traveling, at lower speeds. And even if they do get into an accident at a lower speed, the odds of it being very serious are much lower. Yet flip that on its head. If you're on a road that you're typically driving, let's say 25 miles an hour down because it's somewhat busy and congested, if there's nobody on it, maybe you're 45, maybe you're 50 miles per hour. And maybe you're doing it not maliciously. Certainly there's some bad actors out there that drive way too fast and are very irresponsible. But really what we find, the great majority of people drive as fast as they think they can safely. And when there's fewer people on the road, you can go faster. So you couple that with early sunset and darkening conditions on the roads, dark clothing, distracted driving, distracted walking. Oddly enough, it's funny, if you walk around with your headphones in, that ability to sort of hear something and that be the very first thing that prompts you to stop or make a different decision really goes by the wayside. So it's a pretty there's a lot of things, a lot of behaviors that all of us, drivers, pedestrians, cyclists, very simple things that we all can do to be a lot safer. One thing, though, that is common throughout all of this, you know, if a vehicle is driving at night and doesn't have its headlights on, you flash them and you say, hey, you know, put your lights on. But a pedestrian who's walking around with, you know, their black winter coat and black pants, you have to cross the street. You're inevitably going to cross the street at some point. To the extent that you can be better seen, that's what we're really trying to encourage people to do. And oddly enough, there's a product that 3M sells. It's retails for less than $2 a pack that can do just that.
Yeah, it's I mean a great, you know, low tech way really that anybody can take advantage of and make themselves more visible. We see it certainly on first responders, you know, outfits all the time, firefighters, police, EMTs, those reflective jackets that they wear, construction workers. We mentioned earlier, you know, the road signs now are all reflective. Why not make yourself reflective, right?
Oh, exactly. You know, and it's something that can be done unobtrusively. And it always works. It's one of those things that, you know, these strips will always pick up the light from an oncoming vehicle. Nothing is a silver bullet and a panacea, that sort of thing. But if you have a flyer, we were talking about earlier, Joe, if you are wearing dark clothing, you know, it might be the distance from the pitcher's mound to home plate that a vehicle catches you. But if you're wearing something reflective, you're talking about over a football field away that someone could see you. What a difference. You know, I mean, if someone's traveling 30, 35 miles per hour, whatever the speed is really, you know, it's very hard to stop. And honestly, even if nothing bad happens, even if you don't have a collision, it's still, my God, my adrenaline, my heart rate's up. I mean, you're nervous. It adds this overall feeling that perhaps the roads aren't as safe as maybe the statistics show that they might be. So to the extent that being seen earlier mitigates against all that, it's like we said, it's a very easy, very cost-effective way, and it always works. Like the light from a car will always pick up these reflective strips, and you will always be seen better.
And, you know, speaking as a motorist, when I see folks using this type of equipment, it's a comfort to me. Just, okay, there's somebody there. You know, I can see them. I know how to navigate my vehicle to avoid them.
Exactly. And, you know, look, when these terrible tragedies happen, you know, obviously there's the family of a victim who has been harmed or God forbid, you know, fatalities. But, you know, on the other side of it, there's also a person who hit someone who had no intention in many cases, you know, please God, there's no drunk driver, that sort of thing. They had no intention of setting out and harming anybody when the day began. And yet that's how it goes. So you're right. I mean, to the extent that it helps you see them see you, and avoid anything happening altogether, really, it's a godsend in many respects, if that's how people view safety. I mean, we take so many precautions nowadays to be safe in different ways. You know, this is one that I hope people will adopt, and certainly, unlike some of the things that we hope we don't have to do for much longer, this one would be one I would very much emphasize. Always do this, right? Do it in the winter, do it in the summer, do it all the time, because it's pretty easy to do, and it helps. Guaranteed helps.
Now with everybody wearing face masks, you know, put it on your face mask. I'm surprised they haven't come up with reflective face masks yet.
Right.
So did the city go out and buy these, Chris?
We did. Yep. So we actually, and I can't say enough about MassDOT. So Mass DOT has had a program that called Scan the Street for Wheels and Feet that they had done. We reached out to them. You know, we had some really serious. There's some very terrible things, you know, that happened on the roads over the last year in Quincy, a few fatalities. And we just said, how can we, beyond, you know, some of the other steps that we've taken with speed feedback signs and crossing the street with the RFB and all that other stuff, how can we make a bigger difference? We reached out to DOT. DOT said that they had done a program just like this. But they were really excited that we reached out to them and said, hey, we want to handle this locally. Because, you know, at times when a state agency comes in, they're not as embedded in the community as we are, obviously. So they were really happy. They gave us what they had kind of left over for some of their materials, and we were able to make an additional purchase and have these out and about on the street. And what we've found, I would say, is that, you know, you could have these for sale at a retail facility, But if they're just another thing on the rack, it may not be. They may not get as wide penetration as we'd like. Whereas if we're giving them away for free for a relatively small cost, we believe that this is just a really kind of a no-brainer to do it this way. And to the extent that we can get them into the hands of a lobby at a residential building and give them away, all the better. We want to work with the schools. We want to work with everybody to see that we can make the difference. And, like I said, the state did an awesome job of setting the table for us. We've kind of adapted the program a little bit. One of the taglines we're using is "Be seen, be safe," and it's all along the same theme of just overall best practices for safety out on the roads.
Okay, so how do folks get these?
So they're available at my office at 55 C Street in the front door in the little vestibule. They're on display over at City Hall at 1305 Hancock Street, and we kind of have an updated list that I'll share with you for some local businesses. I think all the dog grooming places in the city right now have them, so a great thing to put on your pet. A lot of residential places have been reached out to, some of the larger ones, and they're giving them away. So right now we bought 1,000 of them. We have 50 left that we kind of have unspoken for. My hope would be that they all get out there and get used, and then as time goes by, if we need to purchase more, we're certainly happy to do it, because we do think that this is a solid thing for everybody to do. And again, really very minimal impact. I'd rather have my coat have these things on them than to say I don't want to mess my coat up. I'd rather the convenience and the emphasis on safety is more important than, I suppose, how my coat looks. Is how I look at it. So,
do you have a little example? Can we do a little show and tell here, Chris, to let folks know what they look like?
Yeah. So this is it. And
That's
believe it or not, this very simple tool. What you can do is you can there's smaller pieces, and what you'd recommend, they peel off like this, and on the back is some tape. What you could do, perhaps put it on your collar, perhaps put some on your shoulder, perhaps put some on your wrists, perhaps put something on the bottom of your coat, maybe on your back. The goal would be to outline what a person looks like. And all of a sudden, instead of, again, being 60 feet away when they see you, from 400 feet away, up to 400 feet away, right? They can see that there's a person there. It's unmistakable, really. And if you get it, I'd encourage people to just sort of test it out. If you're you and your husband, wife, whatever the case may be, just to see how incredibly bright it is from a good distance. I think that'll make a believer out of you if you have any questions. So
yeah, well, I mean, traveling, I don't know, 35 miles an hour, to have that much extra time to, make either stop or make a move to avoid somebody, that's tremendous.
Yeah, it's funny. I tried it out with my daughter, and she said, I was like, Isabella, is it really bright? She goes, it's almost too bright. That's the point,
Good. That's great news. That's what you're looking for, sure. So only 50 left, though. Unfortunately, do you think?
Well, yeah, we're gonna replenish the stores.
Okay.
Again, we spread them out pretty widely,
Yep.
And we have some here to kind of keep the DPW thing going for as long as we need to.
Okay.
And City Hall has a good reserve over there, so we're in decent shape on that front. But we're happy to buy more, within reason, obviously. But
yeah,
we're happy to do this because we think it's just a good, solid, always works type of option for people.
It's good. Yeah, I mean, when the pandemic first hit back in the spring, I was just struck by how many people were just out walking, just randomly walking that they never would do before. Not so much of an issue when it's light till 8 o'clock at night, but certainly this time of year, it's a big issue.
Yeah, we have traffic control devices all over the city, and we get a lot of information on that. And it was amazing, really, at the very beginning of it. Every type of activity fell off like a stone. 50% reduction in vehicle traffic. We saw 80% reductions in pedestrian traffic.
Wow.
But then as sort of April and May rolled around, people were itching to get out, and they were getting out in different ways. We saw the Blue Hills as busy as they've ever been. We saw Quincy Shore Drive and the beach being as busy as it was, even if the parking was blocked off. People were still getting over there. And really, it's been great to see in many respects. I mean, these assets and resources are there for us to use and enjoy and appreciate. And honestly, the more people appreciate these resources, the cleaner they become, really the better they become. because people realize what a gem the 6,000 acre Blue Hills is and so forth. So.
Yeah, and you really get to know your neighborhood much better on foot or bike than by car. You really start to notice things that you'd never seen before. You may have lived there all your life.
Exactly. Yeah, no doubt about it.
What else is your department? I noticed the big changes on Quincy Avenue. Chris, how's that working out?
So we're very pleased with the results over there. So obviously Quincy Ave sort of is the poster child, I would say, for a wide road, high speeds, scary for pedestrians, scary to the point of having a number of fatalities over the years. And again, if you hit someone going as fast as you travel on Quincy Avenue, I mean, the odds of that ending with serious injury are low. I mean, really, you get hit at that speed, and it's just the odds of a fatality are just so high. So that project. Our goal was to slow people down. Our goal was to introduce another place for people to cross in a place where we've had some fatalities. So what that tells us, when you have a similar area plagued with that same issue, it tells us, first of all, well, we know it's dangerous. But second of all, we know there's a desire to go across the street there for whatever reason, whether it's a bus stop, whether it's a business, whatever. So we looked at that and we said, how can we make it better? And we looked at the volumes on the road. We looked at all the different type of activity that's over there. And we said, we can make the 4-lane cross section a 3-lane cross section, leave it more or less normal at the intersection so we can store these cars. And the goal was to really to do just what I said, is to slow everybody down. We did add bike lanes where we recouped the space on either side of the road, which is a great thing to do. Like I said, though, the driving force behind that was to make that road narrower, to avoid that I'm side by side with someone going 40 on a street I shouldn't be going that fast on. So the overall impact, I think, has been really positive. Only time will tell, obviously, but our hope would be that there's never another fatality over there. I mean, that would be you couldn't have better news than that. That's our goal. And look, there's a lot of factors that go into why these things happen. But we've been very pleased with how it drives. It hasn't added really any appreciable amount of travel time to getting through that corridor, but it has certainly slowed people down. No two ways about it.
Any other roads across the city you think you have to take similar action?
We're always looking at different options. Quarry Street was one that we recently went from 4 lanes down to 2. We added bike lanes on either side of the street. So again, that's sort of side by side. I'm in a really narrow lane. I'm going up a hill around a curve. It never really made much sense. It never really added any value. It's not like you need those lanes. It's not like the I-93. If it were 2 lanes, you'd say, geez, we're sitting in traffic for 4 hours a day. Never the case over there. So we're in Quincy. The amount of options, the amount of opportunities to do what we did on Quarry Street and Quincy Ave is pretty low, but we're always looking, and anywhere you can kind of tighten things up a little bit and make people fit in their lane a little bit better. If you have a 16-foot travel lane, like we did on parts of Adams Street, for example, it's like that Seinfeld episode where Kramer went from, he eliminated 2 lanes in the expressway and they're driving around like it's a luxury lane. It's not really a good thing, and that episode ended badly, and a lot of times it ends badly too. That's not the sort of thing that you want to have. If you need as much space as you need to drive safely, but if you give people too much, they go too fast. Yep. Always, almost always. Even the most conscientious driver will drive a little too fast if given the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, we're all human, right?
We've had a good year. I mean, Washington Street we did last year. Yep. Quarry Street we did this year. Quincy Avenue we did this year. I think I'm very pleased with how those projects have come out. And we're always advocating for more emphasis, from developers, from everybody to say, hey, can we make things a little bit safer for everybody in the neighborhood?
Sure. All right. Anything else we should let folks know about right now from your world?
No, like I said, just that I can't emphasize enough. Please, by all means, get these strips put on your clothes. You won't realize the difference because it'll just sort of happen. It'll just sort of naturally happen that you'll be seen, you'll be safer, and it's a really a positive thing.
Okay, and can they reach out to your office if they have questions?
Certainly, yeah. They can call my office, 617-376-1936. I'd be happy to chat with them. And if anybody has any ideas, we're always hearing from people about different thoughts that they have, and we're happy to investigate and look into them.
All right. Good to talk to you, Chris. Thanks so much.
Likewise, Joe. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Check the weather once again for you for the rest of the day today. A blend of sun and clouds. Pretty mild, too, with temperatures in the lower 40s this afternoon. The bottoms start to drop out tonight, though. Temperatures will dip into the lower 20s, and they really won't recover much over the weekends. Tomorrow, sun and winds only in the upper 20s. A little warmer on Sunday with sunshine. That wind will make it feel colder, though, and getting a little better on Monday with partly sunny skies in the upper 30s. Thanks again to Chris Casani for joining us today. Thanks to our crew. Thank you for watching. On Monday, we will chat with members of the Quincy Rotary Club about a new fundraiser that they're embarking on. And a reminder, please do participate in the Quincy COVID Memories Project. Share your experiences of life in Quincy during the pandemic by going to quincyculturalmemory.com or sending your entries to the Thomas Crane Library. Attention, local history, 40 Washington Street, Quincy, 02169. And do visit our website. Go to QATV.org. You'll find all of our latest programs, news and information, online classes, classic sports, video on demand, live streaming, and much more. For all of us here at Quincy Access Television, I'm Joe Catalano. Please stay safe.